Hey, it's episode 11 this week on the flip side.
The liturgy of the mall.
The key to being a contagious Christian is sushi.
And we're going to talk all about weird witnessing. Join us on the flip
Come
side.
on, my
Come on.
friend.
Boom.
Hello, everyone. It's the flip side. We're episode 11, and I am joined this week by the wonderful senior leader of glory of everything that's our youth ministry here at Bayside, Karl Romeus.
Yeah.
How you doing, Karl?
So good, Curt. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very
Awesome.
good.
Awesome.
And of course, we have back my co-leader, my compadre, my friend. We haven't had you for a couple of weeks here.
I know. I heard ratings went way down.
No,
Just
through
into
the
the
roof.
tank.
Through the
No,
roof.
Into the tank.
Through
There's
the
some
roof.
guy called Chris Brown on.
I know.
Amateur.
Yes.
I mean, amateur. But anyway, hey, the real deal's back.
Yes, well, we're glad to have
Love
you
you,
back.
Chris.
And we do love you, Chris. Anyway, good to have you back, Andrew. And Andrew, you were on this weekend. You were teaching
Yes.
and preaching at the
Brilliant.
Granite Bay campus, and we went for this big idea of invite your world. How do you actually go out there, make an impact on someone, get them to church, actually help them have a life-transforming experience? And how'd it go at Granite Bay? How'd it feel?
Well, I think it went well. I enjoyed it. I preached the sermon 6 times. So by the 6th time, I had it lucky. I started over at Blue Oaks, you know, and then did the 5 at Granite Bay. But it's a great passage, and it's a simple journey, a really simple journey from someone who was disconnected from Jesus, gets connected to Jesus, and then goes, well, the natural thing is I'm going to connect my world to Jesus. Yep. And that was really the heart of the story. Very simple story. Getting connected and then getting others connected. And,
Okay, well,
and that's how it works.
Let's dig into that. But before we do, we got to get a cup of coffee here because that process can be a very, very life-changing process. We're going to have to examine it in every way.
I'm sorry. I got a sneaky black tea with orange rind.
You're going...
With orange rind.
Yeah.
Well, you're missing out on a single origin today.
Yeah, what do we got?
yeah,
What do we got? Give
top
us
me
what we
off.
got here.
Ethiopian single origin. And the notes are black cherry and lime.
Black cherry and lime. Okay,
You have
let me
orange,
try it
I have
here.
lime.
You want to wait?
Oh, Hannah, that's good, yeah.
Yeah? Good? Is
No.
it good? Oh, it's good this time.
That's good. It's very good.
good.
This time.
Kurt's giving me a hard time last.
No, it was not you. It was him. They tried to sell us, they served us some K-Cups a couple weeks ago.
I tried to fool you.
And he came
tried
out
to
here
fool
and
you.
I said, what is it? And he said, it's balanced. But we're not going to mention that was Dalton. Okay, so Hannah's got us coffee. Andrew's got us the theme. One of my all-time favorite passages, actually, because here we are right at the beginning of the ministry of Jesus. And I just kind of have this premise, Andrew, that you can tell a lot by first impressions. They're not everything, but like how someone greets you. I don't know if you've ever had that person that came up and gave you too big of a hug when you didn't even know them, or the person that's super standoffish, and just kind of that initial first impression thing. And that's what's happening here with Jesus and some of his disciples. And you kind of take that whole scriptural moment where they're having their first impression, and you extrapolate out from that some really powerful truths on how connected people actually make a difference by connecting other people. But it starts with the one guy who actually gets it. You're the first point of your sermon, it's the one guy, like no one gets it.
Yeah.
Jesus is so frustrated, this one guy, and you can tell he gets it by the way he announces the arrival of Jesus.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, that he just like doesn't whisper it, doesn't like text just a small group. He screams it out, this wild character, John the Baptist, in his camel skin, itchy coat, jacket, whatever he's wearing, chewing a bug on the side. Everyone is transfixed, thinking he might be the guy, and he's going, no, I'm not the guy. But as soon as he sees the guy, he shouts, look, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. I mean, that is epic. We're not in the temple. He's not a priest. He's not the high priest. He doesn't have any of the religious paraphernalia. But of everyone living in the world at that time, he's the one that's got the revelation. He's got the inside track, but really good. John the Baptist, he doesn't keep it to himself. He tells the whole world. Yeah. He's the one. Stop following me. Unfollow me. Hit the button right now. Follow him.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to take yourself out of 2,000 years of Christianity, and everyone who's heard the Christmas story and seen the Peanuts special, where the Lamb of God language has been used, and look at this from the eyes of a person who is there seeing it and go, it's outlandish.
Correct.
Okay, a carpenter's son. From a farming and fishing village without the proper education, without the proper messianic credentials, because no one knows he was born in Bethlehem. They all think he's a Nazarene. There's clear Old Testament teaching the Messiah comes from Bethlehem. This guy has not got it. He doesn't have the degree. He doesn't have the right city of origin. And this guy wearing camel hair and eating locusts says, no, I want to proclaim to you. Here is the ultimate sacrifice in our midst. This is the anointed one, the deliverer. It's outrageous. If you wanted to invent a religion that would last 2,000 years and have staying power, this is not how you would do it.
Terrible start.
It's
a terrible start.
It's a terrible start. And it's a great apologetic. And we weren't talking about apologetics this weekend, but every time I read this passage, I go, it only works because it's true.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's the worst marketing. It's counterintuitive. There is no credibility at all in the man Jesus in the natural. And only John the Baptist gets that.
Well, I mean, we're going to timestamp this a little bit, but yesterday Stan Lee died, the creator of Marvel, some of the main heroes, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and I think it's the ultimate hero story. It's the guy that lives in your community, the guy that walks around, and it's God incognito. It's David Banner who becomes the Hulk, and obviously Jesus is way more than that. But it's the guy that just lived for years, went to school, went to high school, got himself a trade, paid his taxes, looked after his mom, was the best child on the earth at that time, and suddenly, in a moment, the hero reveals himself. And how he does it at this moment out in the desert. I mean, it's just rich in images. It's romantic. For me, it is the all-time hero story.
Yeah.
And Jesus, and the thing is, what's so beautiful about him, he doesn't go, yeah, it is, everyone. Look at me, look at me. He just seems to walk on. And he says to the crowd, now you've heard the news. Now, what are you going to do with that? I know where I'm going. Are you going to start following me? It's epic.
But why do you think there's the reveal like this? You know what I mean? I get the apologetic part, but why would there be a reveal so kind of behind the scenes, slow? Like, why did God slow play this so much? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Yeah, why not 27? Why 33?
Yeah,
Why not 21?
Yeah.
Why not 13
I'd always
is when you
heard
become
that,
a man?
Jesus had to be 30 because to be a priest, you needed to be 30, and they would not have given him the respect at that time to teach. I mean, you can be like a young David anointed. No one else wanted to go and kill a giant, all right? So risk your neck, son. Go on ahead. But to be a priest or to function in that capacity, well, what did you know at that age? It wasn't until you reached the age of 30 that you were probably the person. But still a little weird. You would think in the temple do you reveal.
Yeah.
The age thing I can understand. The stage thing, completely different.
Yeah, well, and that would be supported by the text because right here we have the introduction of the controversy of calling Jesus a rabbi. So the second someone called him a rabbi, Jesus always went, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, no, I don't have all the right credentials to be a rabbi.
Yeah.
So are you sucking up to me? Are you admitting that you see the authority? Are you just trying to be polite? You know, so there is, I think, something to this idea that Jesus saying a rabbi, a real teacher, is not really about your credentials. It's about your obedience level. It's about how much you know God, not how much you know about God.
Yeah.
And certainly, Jesus' credibility in the area of knowing about the Father is, like he astounded every single person he debated. But he came and took that rabbi title and he used it as a wedge issue of going, okay, you guys have gone through the process, you still do not know the Father. I've not gone through the process, know the Father. So I think you're right, Karl. There's immediately a credential argument there that goes. But this isn't the main point of the passage. This is all super interesting stuff, the propheticness of John the Baptist, the rabbi title. The main point is the impact he has on a couple of John the Baptist followers.
Yeah.
So John the Baptist has got these guys. One of them's Peter's brother. and they're all in. You know, they're baptizing, they're eating locusts, and then one day John gets up and goes, by the way, I'm done. That's the guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm resigning.
Yeah.
I'm folding up shop. Go follow that guy.
Yeah.
And you have this kind of really interesting thing where a couple of them immediately go, okay.
Go do it.
And they go and they ask Jesus this question. You said it this way, and I think it's genius, Andrew. Connection before direction. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, I've been reading this book by James K.A. Smith, and it's called You Are What You Love. And he writes this, it's so good. Jesus doesn't encounter Matthew and John or you and me or Andrew and ask, what do you know? He doesn't even ask, what do you believe? He asks, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? It's like the guys had been with John. The way I put it at the weekend was that Andrew had been holding on to the rope of religion for years, but this is the point where he needed to let it go. If he was really going to jump into God, he needed to let go. But he starts following Jesus at a distance, and I think it's the question that Jesus puts to all of us. What do you really want? What do you believe? And Smith just puts it this way, that we have bought into a Greek style of thinking and a Greek style of living. And it was the French guy, Descartes, said, you know, I think, therefore I am, and I am what I think. And he goes, no, we bought into a lie. I am what I love. And Jesus really wants to get down into the heart of what we love. And one of the things we said at the weekend, that Jesus comes to fill the gap between what we believe and what we know and what we do by changing what we want.
Oh, I say that again. That's so good.
That's good.
Right.
That's good.
Jesus comes to fill the gap between what we know. Because how many people in America know they should do the right thing? How many people in America know they should go to church? How many people in America know about God? But what they do, it could be a polar opposite to that.
Yeah.
They know one thing, but they do another thing. Well, what's the gap? Well, it's this. It's what we love.
Right,
we are what we love. And this is what Smith puts in it. It's not, are we going to worship? We are going to worship. It is, what are we going to worship?
Everyone's a worshiper.
Everyone's a worshiper. Now, I haven't read the chapter yet. I've almost got to the chapter, but the book is probably most famed for a chapter where he talks about that basically secular society understands that we are worshipers and have created us a temple, and it's called the mall.
Yeah.
And they've got the whole, it's called the liturgy of the mall, and how we need to exegete the liturgy of the mall and understand how they've tapped into this. And so
but the mall is dying.
He is.
Andrew.
So the mall.
Amazon.
New mall.
Yeah,
See, there's a new religion always supplants the old one.
Yep.
Yeah. So he puts it this way: discipleship is more a matter of hungering and thirsting than of knowing and believing. Jesus' command to follow him is a command to align our loves and longings with his. So it's not about, and we've tried this in discipleship, to get into people's head, read more of this, and obviously read the scriptures and get full of the scriptures.
Yes.
But how many people we know the Bible inside and out, but yet it's never got into their heart? And he talks about getting into our heart, getting under the hood of our subconscious, and forming these brand new love habits in our lives. It's a fascinating read.
And that's why you see Christ use those illustrations of living water, bread of life. It's like, I'm going to go to the most like basic thing. Like, you know when you're thirsty, you know when you're hungry. So he's like, that's the place that I want to really, really go at you with.
So it begins with examining, exposing, being honest about what we really want, and asking God to replace us. Yeah, I mean, data alone, we all know this, data alone does not change us.
No.
If data alone changed us, there would not be a single smoker. Not a single person is out there smoking right now going, this is really healthy for me. There wouldn't be, I would never eat an In-N-Out burger ever again if data, because I didn't pick my parents well enough to eat greasy food. Data doesn't change us. what we want changes. So how do you change what you want?
Well, you will, on that, he puts this down. He quotes the author Antoine du Saint-Exupéry. He's the Frenchman.
We got Descartes and Antoine's. We're going high brow here. Keep going. Keep going.
He wrote The Little Prince, and this is what he says in The Little Prince. He said, if you want to build a ship, he counsels, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. And they'll find a way. They'll create something to go on.
So what you're saying is,
figure it out.
We have set our desire too low.
Yeah.
Like as you're saying this, I'm saying, I'm going. Someone is listening to this. They're doing chores around the house, and they're going, oh no.
Yeah.
My life is the pinnacle of who I am. If I am what I want, I'm NFL Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am my Amazon gift list for this year. So by heightening what we want.
Yeah.
By setting the bar higher and going, I'm meant for the far side of the ocean.
We're meant for something bigger. He continues later on. It's actually a secular commentator who ultimately goes, must be something to this God thing. And he puts it this way. He said, if you set your heart on money, you'll never have enough money. If that's what your God is, you'll never have enough. If you set your heart on power, you'll never have enough power. And just keep going along the list. He said, ultimately, the promise of Christianity is the only thing you can actually get enough of is God. That's it. He says it actually makes sense. You can get enough of God, but all the other things that we set our hearts on, we can't get enough of it, and we live these shallow, frustrated, selfish lives. But when you come to God, you can get enough. And I think Jesus did this. The whole thought of speaking of the ocean before you build a ship was, I think, the Sermon on the Mount, the whole idea of the kingdom of God. And I personally, I don't think I preach enough on the kingdom of God, because Jesus really did. And he kept putting out this thing. They go, well, name that or define that or give me a boundary. And he just kept giving metaphors, and we call them parables. But at the heart of it, there was a king and there was a kingdom, and it was align your heart with this. Give us more knowledge on it. Give us more. We cannot think ourselves to sanctification. We just can't do it. It's a heart thing. It's something that happens deep within us. And I think Jesus turning around and asking them, what do you want? What do you love? I know you've left John, but to really follow me, I got to ask you the big question, because I'm not going to get you to waste your time. What do you want? What do you love? Let's get that sorted out, the core issue, and then we can do something.
You said something really interesting. You cannot think your way to sanctification, and I think that's totally true. I think we tend to want to choose one way or the other.
Yeah.
So there are some of us that want to experience our way to sanctification, so we're looking for the experience. And there are some of us that want to think our way to sanctification. We're looking for different information. And I just don't think we feel and think from the same place. We're not two people. And our preference is created by, we've had a wacky experience in our background, so we're going to be a thinker. We've had a dry experience in our background, so we want to feel. And I think you got to go, no, it's not about thinking versus feeling. Yeah. It's about relationship. So I love the what do you want phrase. The other phrase that I've wrestled with in this passage, we're in the first chapter of John, by the way. If you didn't see it on the weekend, and go see what Andrew did on the weekend. It's on our Facebook page. But the phrase that I love here, and it's different from anywhere else in the Gospels. In the Gospels, Jesus is all the time saying, follow me, follow me. But for some reason here, these guys come to him, they say, hey, Master, where are you staying? And he says, well, what do you really want? And they were like, we want to be on your team. We want to be on your team. Yeah, not all the disciples are there yet. These few are. And he says, come and you will see.
Yeah,
so good.
So he doesn't say, here's the itinerary. I mean, I'm like, how many of us, like you do a lot of retreats in youth. Yeah. So, where's it at? How many per room are going to be there? What's the bus ride? Who do I sit by on the bus? How many meals? Will there be a vegetarian and a gluten-free option? And all of those preferential things, okay, maybe I'll come on that youth retreat if you answer all those questions. Jesus doesn't give them any of that. He just goes, listen, it's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. In fact, I think if he would have outlined to them even a cursory itinerary, they would have went, John the Baptist is maybe he's still got a spot. He just looks at him and goes, I invite you.
Yeah.
So big.
I invite you. And
well, you change the whole dynamic of the invitation when it's kind of shrouded in this mystery, but it seems so personal. Like with my girls, like, you know, I got 7-year and 4-year-old, so it's like everything is a question. Like, where are we going? What is that? You know, so with my kids, the thing that my wife and I stole from somebody, it's like, they're like, where are we going for dinner? And I go, a little place I like to call, You'll See. And now for them, it's like, oh my goodness, where are we going? Because there's like this, like just like little shroud of mystery, but it's special.
Yeah.
But it's a special place, and that's Curt. That's my
Karl,
favorite
that's
passage.
your book. That is your book. I am buying that book. A little place we'll call You'll See. Adventures in following Jesus when he doesn't tell us where he's going.
But it's so good. And then just a little further down in that chapter, and a little further down in that verse, it's like we don't know what happens for those like few hours.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so, and I think purposely John's leaving that out of the scripture to be like, look at what's happening behind closed doors. That's just between Jesus and Andrew, and it's this personal relationship which springboards the whole thing.
Okay, and then what's cool about this is if you fast forward in the story, there's Nathaniel who's sitting by the fig tree. He's grappling with a very legitimate question that I brought up earlier, is saying, hey, John the Baptist says follow this guy, but he's a Nazarene, and I know that the Messiah is from Bethlehem. I have a honest question. I cannot with integrity go join this team. And so Philip comes. And what does Philip say? So he goes, hey, you idiot, don't you know? He said, literally there's a disdain in his voice. Don't you know this guy's a Nazarene? And Philip says, oh, come and see. It's the same exact phrase. And the way you said it on the weekend, Andrew, is really great. Connected people connect people. There's this, Jesus invites them into this experience. Doesn't explain it, just invites them in. And all of a sudden, they're inviting other people in to an experience in the same exact way. And of course, the way it resolves with Nathaniel is so beautiful because he's walking from afar, filled with his doubts, doesn't have any answers, and Jesus goes, look at that guy. That's a guy you ought to respect. He's got honest questions. There's no fake in him. He's asking the right stuff. And this contagious invitational thing, it's opposite of what we see in the church so much time. So much of what we see in the church in terms of the attractiveness of Jesus or the attractiveness of Christianity, it's awkward and it's bifurcated and even contentious in our culture now. So how do we get back to this?
Well, I call it the taro effect. Here in this local area, we have a great sushi restaurant, and I would say it's some of the best sushi in the world.
It's the best sushi.
It is the best sushi.
Sushi in the world. But the owner of it, I would say, is just one of the most naturally. One of the most natural Christ lovers I've ever seen. It's not a thing that he goes, I better share about Jesus. He just naturally shares about Jesus. And a lot of people think, well, I'll be kind, but never mention his name. I don't want to force that on people. I think when I watch Taro and he's just like loving life, he goes, God's at the center of this. And you never hear anything that's like a hard sales tactic. It's the most natural thing in the world. And I think that's a perfect example. And I think that's what
I've seen him very, very vulnerable about his struggles. Very, very bold about his victories. And then here's one of the secrets of Taro, and I don't know if you guys know this. There's 3 of him. He is identical twins. I'm convinced.
He's everywhere.
No. I saw him running on the ravine path right by my house. And then later his Instagram said he was Romania. So there is 3 Taros. This is a little inside baseball, but if you live in this area, there is 3 Taros.
He's everywhere.
It's no weirdness. It's very sincere, supernatural. You don't feel, see, I think that here's the problem. There's a couple different ways that we do witnessing to people that are far from God. And we've even trained people this. And one of them is kind of that cells technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create common ground with you. And I'm going to say, oh, we're both wearing black sweaters today. He's, oh, where did you get your black sweater? TJ Maxx.
Yeah, yeah.
Da-da-da. Oh, and then you're supposed to pivot the conversation, correct?
Yeah.
Towards spiritual things after you've created connection.
Yes.
So, your black sweater reminds me of the darkness of your soul.
Oh, yes. Completely.
And your eternal destiny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just, and then there's another way.
Would
that
you
we
pass over that pen to me?
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of
Right,
the
right.
That reminds me of the story I
Passover.
once heard.
And then the other way we do it is we teach people apologetics and evidence of the faith, and what we do is we teach them to have debates.
Yep.
So we teach them to go, oh, you don't believe the first 3 chapters of the Bible, or you don't think that this sexual morals of God is valid in today's culture.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you learn about debating is that it just proves who's the better debater.
Yep.
And it's super effective at making people become convinced that their side is correct.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to an agnostic and you want them to be a super hardcore agnostic, debate them about Christianity. You will convert them to super hardcore. So what I think then is 97% of all Christians understand that those techniques don't work. Cheesy sales and debate.
Yeah.
There's 3% out there that are really making it weird for all the rest of us. They are.
The lady handing out tracts at Halloween?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But 97%, so they use a third technique, which is they never share their faith and they never invite someone to church. And the tragedy of that is you see kind of the frenetic joy of what's happening here. Jesus inviting in, they invite their friends in, that initial thing of wonderment that's happening here. And most Christians never get to experience it.
Yeah.
And here's one of my theories. God loves you when God uses you. Because you know your sin. You know what a risk it is for God in His grace to partner with you. So I invite my friend Karl. He brings his wife. They come to church. All of a sudden, the message that Andrew's preaching that week, and I'm not even preaching, is perfectly dialed for them.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're like, God is in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think Christians miss out on this. It just like real practical, guys. We're running out of time. If you are going to be a person that says, I want to experience this. I want to experience the joy of actually seeing life transformation in the people around me. What do you do practically to invite someone to church, have some impact? What have you guys seen in your neighbors' friends?
I think that, as I said earlier on, the most important thing is be natural.
Yeah.
And obviously have friends. A lot of Christians don't have friends. They don't have friends outside of the church, outside of the fold. And that's a weird thing, full stop. I don't think it's healthy for you as an individual. And obviously you're going to get nowhere with evangelism. So it doesn't start with shouting at people from a distance. Actually, it's a proximity issue. And once people know that you're normal and that you've got normal passions and that you watch soccer, football, whatever your thing is to do, that you actually have a life. I think that is the most disarming thing. So I remember back in Ireland, although I was a pastor, I didn't always go around, I'm a pastor of a church. I didn't have cards or a title or anything. I remember playing soccer with these guys, and the way it was, we just played at lunchtime. And it was, everyone was running from their work, got in there, changed very quickly, get out on the field. And of course, it wasn't time for conversation. And then rush off, quick shower and just rush off. But this one day, I'm tying my soccer cleats, putting them on. And one of them just goes, and everyone's talking. Everyone just goes, so Andrew, what do you do? And I go, I'm a pastor. And it was like all the conversation stopped.
Oh, yeah.
In this loud changing room. It was like it was like stop, tumbleweed flew past. It was just the most surreal thing. And I just went with it. I just didn't say anything else. I said, I'm a pastor. And he went, interesting. And it sort of all started up again. But that was the first time then. Now, I had to be really careful how I tackled after that and showed the love of Christ. But it was amazing how that little moment opened the door then for multiple conversations afterwards. But I purposely, at first, and I'm talking I was there for, it must have been about 3 months, never said a thing. I thought, build relationship, have connection, have fun with these guys, and then open the door, and suddenly it moved.
It's very good. Very good.
No, the long game is, I think it's all about that. But then too, I think there are people who are there in your life.
Right.
Like sometimes we feel like I got to go overseas. I got to go somewhere to find people who don't know Jesus. It's like my next door neighbor does not know Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. I won't say on which side of the house, but my next door neighbor does not know Jesus. And it's now my wife and I were like, hey, we are going to love this guy into the kingdom. So it's like, we go out of our way to go and chat with him. And that's it. We take the girls out of the car and it's like, hey, we're gonna go talk to Mr. Bob next door. Yeah. And we just do that. We hear about this other piece. I think sometimes when we're chatting with folks, we want to get to our punchline so quick. We want to get so quick there that it's like you don't ever hear what's going on. So we spend so much time finding out what his story is.
That's really good.
And it's like, oh, my mom's struggling with this. This is what's going on with my brother. And and the more and more we hear about his story, we're saying, we're not moving anytime soon. God, when you open that door for that, because I know he's gonna throw the softball. Yeah. It's not gonna be us. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, come and see. Come and see. So it really is. It's like, affect the people right in your proximity. Yeah. Affect the people right in your proximity. You don't got to go far to find them.
Yeah. I encourage people as well that this isn't just a thing. Oh, I better evangelize. I better tell. This is God's heart. He's with us in the mission. We're actually following him. Yeah. We're not doing this by ourselves. And really, really quick, I said at the weekend about a guy called Ted Seymour. He led my dad to the Lord. My dad was a Royal Marine, no thought of God, and Ted was part of a naval missionary organization. Walks in, confronts my dad with the gospel, and Dad's like, no, I'm not having this. He came back a month later. My dad was on the same duty in the same place, and he led my dad to the Lord. One thing I didn't say was this. I thought it was incredible. My dad then went back to Ireland and had about 3 weeks off the base, then came back again and thought to himself, oh, I'm a Christian now. I probably better go to church. And he left his little flat, and it was a rainy, rainy night. And he said, I didn't know where I was going. Never been to church in that town. Didn't know what church to go to. It was raining. It was horrible. I went on the street, and I just thought, I better look for a church. Went walking down the street. There's one other guy walking towards me. He's got his hood up, and he looks at me at the last minute, and it's going, Derek! And I went, who? And it's the guy, Ted.
Oh my God.
And he said, Ted, where are you going? He said, Derek, I'm going to church. Do you want to come with me? It was like that. And it's when you hear that, you just think to yourself, we're not just doing this ourselves. God is with us. God is for people.
We think it's all up to us, and it's going to be this Herculean effort. And the truth, like, God, why aren't you doing miracles? No, I am.
Yeah.
I'm just doing them in the areas I want to do them in.
Yeah.
And so you get on board. Here's one last encouragement I want to say to people too, because my wife, and we're way out of time. Haley's like doing jumping jacks. We're so out of time. But this is important because it's about my wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
She is the most effective evangelist I know. And she is not a highly verbal person. She's not like me. She's not a chatterbox. And she does exactly what you guys do. She's very sincere. She has no fake in her. She has not two different modes. She's just Kelly all the time, every setting. She listens really well. And she prays. And it is not rocket science. I think Jesus spent a night in prayer before he picked the 12 apostles. And I just go, my encouragement to you would be like, spend a couple minutes and saying, God, who in my life?
Yeah, that's it.
Who in my life? You direct me to the person of all the people around me. Who in my life? You know, take that risk of listen and obey. And then the last thing that she does, and I think she's won more people to Christ than I know of anyone I know. I don't know if she's ever sat down with someone and said, here's the gospel and here's what you have to pray. Wow. She loves him and loves him and loves him and then brings him to church.
Yeah.
And there's something about you get in the room. And I always say it this way, and you feel the love of God, and you feel the love of people for God and each other.
Yeah.
And you can't feel that with just one or two. You get in the room and you feel, whether it's 15 or 30 in a small church or 1,500 in a Bayside service, you feel the love of God, and you feel the love of people for God and each other, and that softens the heart like no conversation can. So I just encourage.
So good.
Bring someone to church. Anyone can
That's
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. Okay. So much more we could say about John chapter 1 and this contagious, connected people connect people. I want to encourage you, do get a name, do get someone in your life that you're pulling into church. And by the way, thank you for tuning in. Again, here's the vision, and we're going to say it every single week. We want to be people that are more about the liberating truth of God every hour of our day instead of just 1 hour on Sunday. So if you could do us a favor, share and like and follow and subscribe and then repeat all of that. In fact, really do share and ask other people to listen to the flip side. And let's actually just walk out the truth of God every day of our life and then come together for worship on Sunday. Kind of flip the script on that sort of thing and be people that just do that every single day. Thanks for joining us, guys. You did a great job. Thanks.
Thank
and
you.
next week, man, we got another great topic, so join us then.